Hello, everyone. Today I'm looking at Keeper. This was a game that came out on Game Pass recently, and again, there's always a flooding of new games that we don't really pay attention to, and I'm just trying to get through a bunch of them. And so when I saw this, I thought nothing about it until the game started, and the first logo I saw was Double Fine. So I thought, okay, this might actually be something good. And sure enough, within the first 10, 20 minutes, I was absolutely hooked. And I had no idea what to expect. After beating it, I have no idea why it's still called Keeper. But all I can say is that this was a pretty fun and also a very short game. So I definitely give it a huge recommendation. It's also very artistic, very engaging. There are a lot of different aspects to it that make it feel more like an animated Disney Pixar production. And the really amazing thing that, apparently the team set out to do is to make a story with no dialogue. And so a lot of the gameplay or implications of the relationships between any of the characters is kind of just implied through body language, which is really nice. So what is this game actually about? Well, you play as a sentient lighthouse. Yes, a sentient lighthouse. And your companion is a bird called Twig. And so you go on an adventure to basically stop this giant plant thing from taking over the island. Again, everything is super abstract. And the gameplay, there are puzzles, but the puzzles are very, very simple. It's very just visually stimulating and kind of interesting to go through the environments to see what kind of thing they're going to show next. There's a bunch of very interesting environments that they range from like a bubblegum kind of forest to a psychedelic tunnel to a giant stream going up a mountain that turns into some cosmic like spaceship finale kind of thing. So I mean the thing that is most pertinent about Keeper is just the visual fidelity of the game. That is just visual eye candy and spectacles and whatnot. And again, the main component is puzzles, and combat is pretty much non-existent. There are, of course, certain secrets you can find by going off the beaten path, and sometimes it's figuring out which path is the beaten path and which is the main path. That can be frustrating sometimes, but overall it's usually pretty clear and it's pretty hard to miss something. This is something you could definitely beat in one sitting, maybe two. I beat it in two, where again it's like under a 6 hour or 5 hour game, probably less than that. I wish I could check my playtime on it, but it was very simple, very straightforward, and very abstract. And so as you go through the world, you use two main mechanics. Well, one, of course, you can move around and look with your lighthouse eye. And the main mechanic is you can focus light onto something, and that will affect the environment, either revealing a hidden passageway, or affecting a plant to get it to grow, or making certain characters get scared and run away, or clearing out an obstacle. Aside from that, you also have your friend Twig, who is the bird, and he really doesn't do much, but what he does do is help you out with certain puzzles. So if there's something out of reach, or a switch that needs to be flipped, or a small crevice that needs to be navigated, then he's the guy you kind of go to. And again, I was kind of captivated by the pacing of this game. It just starts out as like, hey, you're a sentient lighthouse, and there's no reason for that. And you're like, okay, cool, this is crazy. And at the beginning of the game, you're walking around, lumbering around, you trash and destroy a bunch of like houses and scenery and wooden stuff, and so it's very fun, honestly. But I thought about what kind of genre this game is, because there's discovery, but it's so rare, and exploration isn't exactly what it is either, because you're not really exploring an environment. For example, the game is very linear. You're basically going into certain areas, and there's only one path forward. Sometimes you're shimmying around ledges, but you're always pushing on forward. You might be in an open zone where you have to like go around to 3 different spots, but most of the game is kind of just a kind of theme park ride. And I thought, Okay, so what's the main verb of the genre that we would call this game? It's kind of weird to call it a puzzle game because, again, those are kind of not the main focus either. It's kind of walking through the environment, but it doesn't feel like a walking sim either. And so the one game that came to mind was Journey. And I feel that's the only real appropriate verb to describe what this game is, or noun rather, the journeying or journey style game where, yeah, there's puzzle solving, yeah, there's, maybe kind of avoiding enemies or avoiding combat, but ultimately it's about going through an environment with music and just being captivated by this world. And so more so than exploration or discovery, I would say it's a journey type game, and very similar in that sense. It also tells a very basic story about this lighthouse and this bird and how they connect. Throughout the story, the lighthouse transforms and, well, really gets destroyed and reformed via, kind of avoiding things. And so you turn into a boat, a flaming little ball, and finally the final form, which they call the Keeper, which is kind of like this moose made out of wood and fire, which is pretty cool, honestly. It's a lot of fun just controlling these things. And I would say that it kind of has some development with the relationship between, the lighthouse and the bird. I guess the Keeper, since the final mission is called the Keeper, which is your final form. And again, I don't know why it's called the Keeper. It's keeping the light alive. It's kind of not very straightforward. But yeah, that's the one thing that I kind of wish would make this game, which brought it from a fun, nice, whatever experience to a much higher experience, which is that if it had an actual story, or if it made sense, basically. It's very much spectacle. It's like, why did the lighthouse come alive? I don't know. Why does the ending end like it's a 2001 Space Odyssey and there's a giant mountain flying into the sky? I don't know. There is no real reason or rhyme to anything that's happening, but everything that is happening looks really cool. So, I mean, there's that. And you have, again, a bit of character development between, these two characters helping each other, which, again, makes it feel like maybe not a Pixar movie, but a Pixar short or something, which was very nice and heartwarming. And, again, it's nice to see a Double Fine make something abstract and cool like this. And I just love the fact that there's no text and no writing. There's no forcing the player to try to feel something. Everything you feel and experience in this game is exactly what you see. You don't need to, over-engineer the experience. It presents itself exactly how it is, if that makes any sense. But anyway, it's a child-friendly, adventure game, journey game, whatever you want to call it, with some pretty straightforward puzzles. And yeah, I give it a thumbs up. It's nothing amazing, but definitely worth playing, and I had fun playing it. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for this one, and see you later. Bye.